If you're struggling to write interesting chord progressions, writing the bass line first may just help you, because even as a keyboardist, it has helped me a ton. For years, my approach to music production was always to write my chord progression first, then build everything else around those chords. And that approach is fine. In fact, I'm curious to know how you start your tracks. But with the chords first approach, I often find myself defaulting to the same and what I now consider boring chord progressions over and over. However, a big shift occurred when I started writing the bass line first. All of a sudden, I was writing what to me were new and more interesting chord progressions. So let me show you an example, and maybe this will convince you to try this approach. What you're listening to is a Frank Duke sample from one of my previous sessions, and this is the bass line I wrote over the top. Now, this bass line was entirely freestyled, and I highlight that because that's how my sessions often start. I let things loop and I jam. But it's much easier for me to jam when considering a single line, not worrying about chords and chord voicings, which can be a hurdle. Instead, just focusing on finding a rhythm and the root notes that will become the foundation for those chords. Now, the highlighted notes here, these are my guides, because once we have our root notes, it's simply a case of finding our corresponding chord. D minor 9, G minor 7, and I added the 13th at the bottom of the chord to create a nice movement to the next chord, E minor 7, flat 5, A minor 7, D minor 7, C major 6, B flat major 7, A minor 7, G minor 11, E minor 7, flat 5, A minor 7, D minor 9. Altogether, it sounds like this. Now, my brain wouldn't have come up with that had I not written the bass line first. Firstly, I probably would have written something a lot simpler in terms of rhythm, and secondly, probably with a lot less chords. More chords doesn't equal better per se, but for this chord progression, I love that rundown from the D to the G, which I follow with the chords. And I don't think I would have really thought to do that otherwise. Going forward now perhaps, but not during the time. It's also helped me find interesting voicings for my chords as I've worked to stay in the pocket and keep my chords close together. As you can see, there's not a lot of movement up and down the keyboard, and you tend to do that when you already have bass notes. You're less tempted to fill up the low end. And that's how I come up with a lot of my chord progressions these days. I've added this progression and bass line to my Stefan's Keys sample pack, which has a bunch of other progressions, bass lines and more in both MIDI and WAV formats. If you're interested, otherwise, I hope you found this helpful. If you need some help writing R&B bass lines, then check out this video here. I've been Stefan, and as always, happy beat making.